Hello, namaste. Welcome to my blog. Here you will find the most inspiring and important sources, internet sources about the most urgent questions of survival of humankind, prepared for you in a well-structured and entertaining manner, downloadable in PDF files. You will see them in the menu Reality Check. And you can also practice your German and Russian. Thank you for your interest. Bye-bye. This was fast. Time is money. Next language. Oh, you're still there? Do you have some time more? Okay, let's travel to India. Let's go to India on a short trip. Whenever it comes to English, the first thing which pops up in my mind is India. I see with my three eyes. So, despite having been there only twice for 12 weeks, but whoever was in India knows that it's enough. Anyhow, one day may be enough. And the rest of your life you will be in India anyhow, with your spirit and your mind. I also appreciate all the other countries, the homeland of the other Indians too. For me, India is the spiritual superpower in the world, uncontested superpower. Usually we think about superpower, we think about USA. They have also very special power. For example, they are specializing in waging wars far away from their territory. Only once in all these 200 or more wars was fought. One war was fought in their home country with the help of the Russians. By the way, they defeated the English and French aggressors. And of course, it's linked also with a very special financial system of private banking and so on. The Indian superpower quality is rather the inside, so not far away, but more the inside spiritual aspect, which sounds a little bit, well, poetical, idealistical, but it's not. Because spiritual means actually the oneness of science and of social questions, politics, altogether, the bright and the dark aspects. When I was in India the first time, 1999, I had a huge language crisis from the start because I could not put it into words, even making notes. What I've seen, it was impossible. It was so overwhelming and incredible and crazy. And later I found a quotation by a German philosopher, Hegel, which in my view is the most precise. It's India is God in the whirling of his own dreaming, in the dreaming of the unlimited spirit itself. Well, it sounds, of course, poetical, philosophical, typical way of philosophers talking, but in comparison to what I have experienced there is rather very sober and rational way of describing reality. So one of my main topics is, of course, religion, because it's so interesting to have so many good and bad aspects and so many people avoiding this topic. So it makes it very interesting. I had an excuse to go to India. I was in search for the traces of Jesus and a link with India, so the origins of Christianity and India. Inspired by the idea that maybe he was in India or something is there. There is a gospel, there are many gospels which are not included in the Bible, as you know, not only 4, but many, many more. One is called Gospel of Thomas. It was discovered in 1945 only, and it predates the other Gospels, surely, probably. One of them goes like this. There are 114 sayings. It's nothing to do with life description, it's just sayings. Number 3 goes like this. Jesus says, if those who lead you say to you, "See, the kingdom is in the sky," then the birds of the sky will precede you. If they say to you, "It is in the sea," then the fish will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is inside you, and it's outside of you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will become known, and you will realize that it is you who are the sons of the living Father. But if you will not know yourselves, you will dwell in poverty, and it is you who are that poverty. I missed this passage in the included Gospels. Why? Maybe it's too much Indian thought here, know yourselves, and also Greek thought. So you don't need any authority, even any Bible. And when I was in the first days, I asked my family, my friends, please lead me to the most wise people, the wisest people here. I have to ask them questions. And so they did. And the first day, for example, there was a man, an old man, a translator, who showed me his library, very humble, simple man. And I asked him, what is for you the main holy scripture? Expecting that he would say something like this, Bhagavad Gita or some of the Vedas. Instead of it, he said, no, it's all holy. All the scriptures are holy, and by the way, it doesn't mean so much, because the unwritten message is much more important, which is hard to grasp by your mind. And so on. And he translated half of the library on his own, from 10 languages into each other, in Indian languages. So it went on day by day. So many people, and even after a few weeks, I didn't need to ask people to show me some people, but they came to me automatically, as if ordered by some force. So it was really miraculous and very strong. Of course, you may think that nice, but it's a poor country with terrible contradictions and suffering. What about the contradictions? Of course, it's all the same. It is one. And I also suffered in India to see this rich spiritual superpower being attacked by the virus of destruction, which of course is much linked to my home civilization, the Western civilization. So the next time when I came to India in 2003, I had some workshops. I made some workshops about water information, and here we have pendulum workshop. So I tried to give back some Indian knowledge, insights to the Indians themselves in addressing the elite. Because as you see in many countries, actually in all countries in the world, it is the local elite who are eager to destroy their own countries in believing that they will serving it, but it's not the case, because they are fulfilling the outer interests of the globalists, of whatever you call them, the elite on the top, which is not the elite of their countries. So again, it's linked to politics, and quite dark politics. And what else than religion can bring you closer to these dimensions? It's not only about escapism, it's actually the opposite. It is tying back the spiritual enterprise to the earth and to down-to-earth questions about survival, guaranteeing a future for your children. And one philosopher writer from Russia, Leo Tolstoy, said the following. I just quote the bold words. The most evil, immoral, lying people always rule. They are on the top of the pyramid. And this is not an accident, but a necessary condition of power. So extremely negative, as he also says in various other ways, about the nature of our civilization, which always puts on the top of the pyramid the most evil people. Today, I would add a more optimistic note, although it is heavily backed by the new facts which you can easily prove in the internet. But why it's more optimistic? Because we can now describe this mechanism and we can see the evil as a rather technical condition for them to rule, for organize their own circles. Because it's a mechanism to enter and not to exit anymore. Because you don't need not only much money and power, but a huge list of really proven terrible, most terrible crimes. So that they can be sure that the conscience is really down to zero. Comparable to a antibiotic cure, if there is one nasty bacterium left, it can spoil the whole cure. So in the same with conscience, maybe if there is one small element of conscience left, then it can happen something bad to them. So even if he wants to step out, he won't want it because it's impossible. Why should he? And this is to make sure that this is a small circle, a small group. So of course it's still evil, it's still bad and dangerous for us, for everybody of the creation. But you can see it as a more technical issue. And there are words, for example, one interesting word is kakistocracy. It's just the opposite of aristocracy. Here it's coined in 1829, very old. And somehow it's not the rule of the worst. Somehow it's not very common. Why? Aristocracy, we know, the best. Democracy, we all know these nice words. But why not this most perfectly describing word? Maybe it's too true. So somebody had taken it out from dictionaries. And so if you don't have the words, it's much more difficult to describe reality. Another example from the opposite direction, if you have a word which pushes you into a certain direction, you already have the answer in your pocket. For example, here, in one place, it's all about spirit, matter, and consciousness and life. It's also almost a technical manual. In one place here, Lord Krishna says, both spirit and matter are in me, which is, well, not so sensational, but I just want to draw your attention to the word. In Sanskrit, it is used sat for spirit, and for matter, asat, meaning non-spirit. So very easily, you already got the main message that spirit is primary, and the rest is non-primary. Even you don't need to explain, it's just clear by the language. In this case it's correct because it's backed also by quantum physics and many others. And of course by the science which should be, in my conviction and other authors too, extended by the spiritual factors, so we have to include inner experiences and outer anomalous experiences, so like black swans, because it would be such a waste of miracle not to include it into science. Why should it be only, according to the positivists, like this quantifiable, repeatable, outer visible experiments? It's too few. So we have this interesting aspect of dark and bright, of extreme aspects. In India you get automatically, without wanting it. It's just clear. And also you get the idea of this fine manipulation, which is maybe in the nature of our Western civilization, or maybe in the nature of civilization as a whole. This is the old question. I want to introduce you another small, big quotation by Henri Bergson, a French philosopher, raised in London to his 9th year of birth, born to a Jewish father from Poland and a Jewish mother from Ireland. What a wonderful mixture. He said, fortunately, some are born with spiritual immune systems that sooner or later give rejection to the illusory worldview grafted upon them from birth through social conditioning. Isn't this remarkable? So many hints and insights here. First of all, immune system. He hints to the idea that if the manipulation is fine enough, refined enough, it passes your immune system, there is no reaction, and you don't even notice that inside you there can be a program which makes you feel happy and free, but you are slave. And there must be such an analogous spiritual immune system which detects manipulation and, in the whole world, the illusion, which is maybe not very correctly translated from French, because in French there is la vision illusoire de ce monde, the illusory vision of this world. So it's not only the wrong or right worldview, but the illusion. The world is an illusion. Maya, it's the wheel of Maya. It's the system, maybe the matrix, maybe only the Western civilization, maybe the Western civilization of the past 300-400 years. These are questions you should answer. You should look for the answers for yourselves, and there are some proofs for any good argumentation. And so the Indians are more, well, okay, let's forget about Indians. Social conditioning is also a very interesting keyword. Reminds you on Aldous Huxley. Aldous Huxley, George Orwell, these were not prophets, these were insiders. They had insights into the planning of the elite, which is not only the black elite, not only the kakistocratic elite, but they are also organized in dynasties, in dynastical passing over the power and wealth, which is usually linked to kings, but you don't have to need to be a king, enough to be a banker or a bankster. And this makes it quite difficult to follow their ways, because they can act in a very slow way with almost homeopathic doses on us. Keyword are geoengineering, social engineering, food poisoning. You cannot even prove who started when and so on. And it's hard to get your imagination around it, because as a normal human being, you are beyond this criminal mind. So, well, but it's about this elephant in the room, which unfortunately has to be freed from the room, because anyhow he's growing, and there may be many more other elephants in this room, so it's time to let him free. And then, of course, the positive message, they begin sensing that something is amiss, something is wrong, and start looking for answers. Inner knowledge and anomalous outer experiences show them a side of reality others are oblivious to. And so begins their journey of awakening. Each step of the journey is made by following the heart instead of following the crowd, and by choosing knowledge over the wheels of ignorance. You see, he didn't create a contradiction between heart and reason, heart and brain, only heart and ignorance, which is the crowd. There's another small error, I think, or at least you should update it, not crowd. Because if you say crowd, you already automatically get the image of badly educated masses, which needs distraction, panem et circenses, bread and games. Whereas we, you, me, and our friends and families are, of course, the educated people, smart people, aware of the complexity of the world. But what if we constitute the majority? Then there's a problem, because we, being an anti-crowd, automatically are the crowd. So he should have said the majority. Because there is a huge danger that the majority of people who feel that they are right, by being far away from any crowd and ignorance, are just simply manipulated, and then they act as slaves, as programmed biorobots, without any chance of getting knowledge about this. The only way is to look for reality check in yourself, to look for criteria. Do I correspond to my human nature, to my mission, to my destination? Who am I? Who are we? Below there is a video. We think we are humans. Very interesting. So this is a small danger here to see our crowd, of course. It corresponds to the idea that, or to observation that in the emerging countries and also in the Western countries, the elite is also helped, supported by the intellectual elite. So the people, the professors, any educated people, it's the problem. So they are usually the brainwashed, the most brainwashed. Brainwashington, isn't it a nice place to be capital? So therefore you need really this holistic spiritual approach to get all the needed information inside, and you have to go through this process of asking yourself, am I a slave? Am I free? How can I prove it? A good criterion is if you organize to chase the real evil entities away. Then you look up to the pyramid, not divided impera, means divide and rule, to look for some enemy inside the society, like typically now in the Western society, look for the right, far right, which may be bad people, I don't know, but they are not the most important danger, of course, of humankind. Most important dangers are where wealth and power is. It's so logical. And if you still believe that democracy is in place, then you might also believe that 9/11 has something to do with the official version, which is not the case. It must be regarded, for example, as a psychological operation or as an occult mega mass ritual, which is proven. Why? Very simply, we have missed in our education this huge layer of occult hidden foundation of at least 3 or 4 and much more 100 years of our, especially Western civilization. So this is the task, and India helps to get pushed in this direction. Maybe at the end one more quotation from the Gospel of Thomas, because it's so beautiful and uniting India with the rest. Excuse me, where is it? It's about the question the disciples ask, what shall we do, very simply? Which diet shall we observe? Here. Shall we give alms? Which diet shall we observe? How shall we pray? Do you want us to fast? Very good questions. The answer is, do not tell lies, and do not do what you hate. For all things are plain in the sight of heaven. For nothing hidden will not become manifest, and nothing covered will remain without being uncovered. Totally clear. Today the monsoon season began with heavy raining, and this is a connection between of heaven and earth. So be all connected. Thank you, and happy reading. Bye bye. Namaste.